I am Thor, son of Odin, and as long as there is life in my breast, I am running out of things to say.
Great, another broken white boy for us to fix.
That's my secret, Cat. I'm always angry.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are. With great power comes great responsibility. I can do this all day.
Wakanda forever!
And welcome, Internet, to another episode of Views from the 616, the Blackest MCU podcast in the Multiverse, powered by For All Nerds, where we discuss everything in the MCU from the perspective of people of color. And it is one of your hosts, Tatiana King, a.k.a. the Book of Ashanti, a.k.a. the Life and Times of Sharon Carter, A.R. Lord, T'Challa Bread, Doc Ocky, Tesseract Thompson, and Captain America. And as always, I am joined by my chained out co-host.
Thank you very much. It's your boy DJ Benhameen, aka Dr. Stephen Slane, the Sorcerer Supreme, Clyde Intel, Baron More Doing Too Much, Universal Fan Khonshu, Brother Voodoo Child, Tan the Manly, Mr. Marvelous, Black the King Kirby. That's about it for now.
All right. We are back in full effect. Benhameen with his AKAs, the most ridiculous ones. I will never get over the Khonshu one. I think like it just squeezes my soul every time you mention that one. But here we are, as always, at Views from the 616. We are back with the next unstoppable Marvel train of Disney Plus shows. I'm telling you, we have no time. We have no downtime when it comes to this stuff. It's just like, oh, next Disney Plus show. Let's go. Do your research. Let's go. Get ready for Miss Marvel. When I say I am thoroughly entertained, thoroughly pleased by the writing, the direction, the production, the je ne sais quoi of this show. Y'all, well, first of all, thank you to Disney, who has given both Benhameen and I the first two episodes of Miss Marvel that is going to be streaming on Disney Plus starting June 8th. We got it early, so we have a great, at least opening understanding of what y'all are about to see. This time, we are only going to give this review of episode 1 of Miss Marvel. We're so damn early, we don't even have the episode title. But that being said, for those who don't know, Miss Marvel is a character, that reimagined version of Miss Marvel, which premiered in February 2024 by G Willow Wilson. Benhameen is holding up that beautiful No Normal book, which marks the G Willow Wilson run of Miss Marvel. Just amazing, incredible work. I absolutely, I have the same one. Really great work. One of the most outstanding stories I've read. Obviously, starring a Pakistani American teenager. Just being able to get that dichotomy of different ethnicities, and then entering, as you said, a brown girl from Jersey City, which we're going to get into later, but being able to see that a brown girl from Jersey City can be a hero and things like that. We're going to dissect all of this, but I'm just wanting y'all to give y'all the beginning, the opening statement about how incredible of a story y'all are about to watch. This was A+++ for me when it comes to pilots, when it comes to just a masterclass in writing. Both Benhameen and myself are writers, and just over the years, just when we learn about what makes a good pilot, what makes a good episode, what makes a good show and series, this is the cream of the crop.
Yeah. You said it all. The je ne sais quoi is really, this is one of those things, we were just coming off our reviews of Moon Knight. We enjoyed Moon Knight for what it was.
I'm not going to lie. After seeing this first episode, I'm like, Moon Knight was mid.
I mean, I said that beforehand.
Ben said that, but I needed comparison and contrast.
I didn't even want to say it's mid. I thought Moon Knight was good. I just thought it fell apart when it needed to stick the landing.
It got mid towards the end.
Yes. Now, Miss Marvel, we've only seen the first 2 episodes, but this is one of those things, as soon as it opened, I was like, oh,
yeah.
These people know what the hell. These bastards. Everyone involved in this is a bastard. I love them all and hate them at the same time because they've produced something incredible.
Yes.
It was I was shocked. I was stunned. I'm a big fan of the G Willow Wilson run. I love Kamala Khan as a character. I played the Avengers game that features her front and center. It was a beautiful Kamala Khan origin story in that game. It's fantastic for those who haven't played it. At least the opening story is so well told. I cried at the end of it because it features this thing between Kamala and her dad. So I was looking forward to this. And after Moon Knight, I wasn't sure, but I kept hearing good things. I kept hearing about the lead actress and how involved she was and how she carried a notebook around of ideas, and Kevin Feige just couldn't stop raving about her. And then I heard about how the biggest influences of the show were Scott Pilgrim versus the World, one of my favorite films of all time.
Love that film. One of my faves as well.
One of my favorite comics. That comic, the first time I read it, dog, I read the graphic novel, the manga. I read one. Before I was even finished, I put it down, rode my bike back to the store, and bought the rest. Because I was like, nah, I can't finish this and then not have more of it. And then the other big influence is the recent animated film Mitchell versus the Machines on Netflix now, which I've seen. And Mitchell versus the Machines, people were like, yo, this is up there with Spider-Man No Way Home. I was like, ain't no damn way. I saw it. It's up there. Easily. And a lot of the things you'll see in Miss Marvel, the animation styles, especially that opening. I mean, not even the opening, but just a lot of it. The entire
episode.
But the entire episode is so influenced by Mitchell versus the Machines.
Yeah.
Because the styles they're using in Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
And a lot of other things, obviously. But those are two huge influences that I if you haven't seen them, y'all, please see Scott Pilgrim and please see Mitchell versus the Machines.
Please, definitely. And even those have influenced things like Spider-Man, like the Tom Holland Spider-Man, and like just even like it was at the end and in the beginning, like Hawkeye. Even like when you see things like these animated openings, like with this first episode of Miss Marvel, you see this animated papercraft opening, and it's just brilliant. It's just brilliant in its imagination. It's brilliant in the creativity, and that you see throughout the episode. And this first episode is any indication of what this 6-episode series is going to be like. You're just going to be in just for a just incredible ride with this. So let's get into episode 1, get into the basic plot here. It's the moment we've all been waiting for as Kamala Khan makes her triumphant appearance on the small screen. It's a classic, or is it a classic? Let me try that again. It's a classic. Will she or won't she go on her hero's journey on this episode, as Kamala must decide between what her family desires and what she needs on the premiere episode of Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel is directed and executive produced by Adil Al-Arbi, as well as Bilal Fatlah, Mira Menon, and Sharmeen Oeid Chinoy, and the head writer Bisha K. Ali. Bisha also was a writer on Loki. So
by our peoples.
And that was still, to me, that's still the #1 MCU Disney Plus show. So that should tell you if you're coming from good stock. So
you are coming from good stock here, because this is fucking official. I like, we're going to get into everything, but I just can't get over. Like I said, it was from the opening moments, and I was like,
yes.
And then like something we'll talk about a lot, and we talk about it with the animation. And why I love this show so much is how much of it is done through showing and not telling.
So much showing, the way it's supposed to be. Like, it's not a lot of exposition. Like there's even a whole really poignant scene where there's no dialogue, right? Or maybe there's one dialogue and like a sound effect, you know what I mean? Like, but that's it, right? But you get to see through the emotions of the character. I mean, this is a visual medium, so you get to see through the emotions of the character and what's going on around them to interpret the story itself.
And there are so many Easter eggs. I mean, it's
filled with Easter eggs.
It's just a crammed. And I also love it because we're seeing the effects of like the Avengers and superheroes on a world, and on regular people, where you're seeing how it would influence pop culture at large. And
we've seen that in Hawkeye. Like, there's a whole Broadway play about the Battle of New York. You know what I mean?
And now you're seeing like Hulk smashed or Hulk smushed as a softy flavor.
Complete interaction with pop culture and influence over it. And as I mentioned before, this is based off of the Miss Marvel No Normal comic co-created by G Willow Wilson with the artist Adrian Alfona. Just really incredible work. Please pick that up at your local comic book shop. Also, before I get into everything, please give both myself and DJ Benhameen grace when it comes to the pronunciation of names. We are doing our best and are doing the work to find out the correct pronunciations. But please, if we need to be corrected, please do that. But do so with grace and love. Appreciate you.
And that goes in general for a lot of the things that comes to this culture, and which is so well represented on this show. Like,
So
both
well
of us have a
represented.
lot of interaction with Pakistani culture, but we're obviously not from Pakistani culture.
Mm-hmm.
But something else that I just loved about this show, and why I think it's trying to hit so hard for so many people, is because that experience of an immigrant is so relatable to so many people, even people who like, because when I used to talk to my Jamaican friends and they tell me about their mom, I'd be like, that just sounds like my mom and my aunt, because that's Southern Black culture. Like Southern Black culture has a lot of that same, get a job, do this, stay on the straight and narrow,
Yes. You got to be a doctor, lawyer, whatever. Yeah. It's
all
very
that same
similar.
thing. Yeah, so
Yes.
that's why it was all hitting me. And then having spent a lot of time around, Pakistanis as well as Indians, and knowing about everything that goes on in that culture, it was so great to see it represented on this show.
Yeah.
And we want to do our best to represent it and talk about it from our perspective. So let's go.
Absolutely. And me, myself, growing up with a Pakistani family next door. So, like, hanging out with them, playing with the brothers and sisters. Like, I still know them to this day. Shout out. What up, Assam? I see you. What up, Mariam? I see you. But, just growing up with them and being, eating food with them, watching the shows, like, it felt very familiar at times. And that being said, as Benhameen said, that's not our background. So we are going to actually do our best to find someone of that Pakistani American background to able to, like, give us some more insight into this.
Yeah, because my main experiences, other than living in New York, is also when I was in Dubai for a year, where I just up close and personal with a lot of this culture. So I got to know it well. A lot of my friends, shout out, still friends to this day. What up, y'all? I see y'all out there.
All right. We spoke
all my British
enough.
Pakistani boys, boy.
Yo, we spoke enough. We gave everyone enough of intro. Let's get into
the themes
of the episode.
Huzzah.
And the first major key theme that I know is going to ride throughout this series is the theme of family and tradition.
Mm-hmm.
We've already touched upon it just briefly, just a few seconds ago. But, I mean, this, and besides just the immigrant experience, you see the Pakistani American experience, right? When like, especially when you're first or second generation, whatever, of your parents who may have been immigrants, and then like you've grown up here, like Kamala, she grew up in Jersey City. Like,
yes,
she has the background. Yes, she has a Pakistani background, but she's also an American teenager living in Jersey City, which for those who don't know is like, I think end point to end point is like 6 miles from the city. Like, you can see downtown New York. You can see the World Trade Center, or where the World Trade Center was. Like, you can see the buildings there. You can see that whole complex. Like, it's right there. So it's highly influenced by that space. It's highly influenced by the people in that space. And we'll get into that later. But number one, family and tradition was a huge theme of this episode.
Yeah, huge theme of this episode. And like you said, it's that immigrant experience. And it's just that experience that a lot of people in America, especially people of color, go through. And not even just in America, because this, another big, I don't think it was an influence on this so much, but something that reminded me of was Turning Red. Because Turning Red was telling this same story of an immigrant family and a young girl going through changes, in life at a teenager's time, and relating that to gaining powers, etc. And so that also reminded me of that, because we saw the Korean culture in that, and in here we're getting to the Pakistani culture. So just, I could go on and on, man.
Yeah. And as we learn of Kamala, she is the youngest. She is a girl, and she's also seen as a weirdo and strange for her interests. Does that sound familiar growing up? You like comics, conventions. Right away, I was like, damn, I feel you, girl.
I was talking to my homie Preeti, and she's Indian, and she was like, oh my God, that's me, because she's a super geek. She, and it was just everything, because she's seen the episodes as well. And she was like, yo, she thinks it's perfect as well. And for me, that just hit me so hard, man, because I was a chubby little kid, who was in a time when geekdom wasn't even celebrated in big pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
So it was super weird to be a geek. And I was already super weird just in general.
So
So
she's a geek and she has a small friend group, but
I
then
was
also, right, a lot of us people listening, Benhameen and I,
friend
we were her. So it right away was like relatable. And then also like couple that with the differentness of her culture, right? Because her culture growing up, she has to be more conservative, right? More covered up, more thing like her mom had yelled at her later about you not gonna be dressing around like these hussies out here. Like you're not doing that. That's not you. That's not your people's. That's not the way I raised you. So and that is again another thing that you see a lot in many different cultures where it's just like you not doing what the American girls is doing because we're not about that life, right? This is not how we grew up. This is not a religion. This is not this. This is not that. So you see that come out a lot within her parents. The way that I felt like she was being treated differently, perhaps because she's a girl, perhaps because, she's growing up in this different environment that her parents did, right? Like you see Amir, her older brother, he's getting married soon. To me, he gets treated like a golden child. That tends to happen with firstborn children anyway, but especially if they're boys, it's just, I feel that happens across cultures, that they seem to be given preference and the ability to do what they want to do. And even American culture, they do that.
Yeah, my sister will always say that. She's the older one, so it's kind of different there because she was the one who, basically did all the wild shit so I could get away with anything. But,
Yeah.
She laid the path, so, hey, I was just following in the footsteps.
Yeah, and I think, like, the whole idea of family tradition and Pakistani culture and, the ethnicity and all the stuff that goes behind it, I think that is how they're changing. And this was a point of contention for a lot of people about how, at least and again, I have to tell y'all before I get into this, whenever you see a trailer from Marvel, do not believe what you see, hear, or what people say, because it's a lie and you also don't know the full story. Months ago, when it was first revealed, this Miss Marvel trailer about her powers, there was a big hullabaloo. It was like, why did they change her powers? She's known to have these stretching powers, right, in the books. Why did they change her powers? Did they do that to put Mr. Reed up against her? Not Mr. Reed,
Reed Richards.
Reed Richards, thank you. I said it like it was Mr. Rogers. Put Reed Richards up against her. Like, oh, are they like, why are they changing such an incredible story? And there was all this stuff. I didn't know all the deal behind it, and you'll find out now that they didn't 100%. They didn't take that away from her. They just changed the delivery system. But I think that's going to tap into the family traditions. Like,
yes,
as we see in this episode, as you see towards the end of the episode, her powers are coming, or it seemed to be imbued from the bracelet of her grandma's bracelet. I assume her grandma's bracelet, that it imbues her with some form of, I'm going to call it celestial plane power, because
let's go.
What you saying?
I don't know if the Negabands have a name for their power, but
I'm just saying celestial plane because when she put them on and the world flipped for a minute, she seemed to be on a different plane of existence.
Let me explain what that possibly could be.
Okay.
In the comic books, the Negabands are an item that a bunch of different heroes use, such as the original Captain Marvel, the man who was Captain Marvel before Carol Danvers took the name, and some other heroes related to the Kree, because Captain Marvel is a Kree.
Yes.
So the Negabands come from the Kree. And so in the comics, her power, she's an Inhuman by birth, right? She has Inhuman ancestry. And so that's why when the Terrigen gas gets released, her embiggen powers come out. In this, she puts on the band and flips into some type of ethereal spirit world.
Right.
Where we see massive amounts of other people, all with glowing eyes and shadowy forms. So what it seems to be, and we also get hints in this episode about her mom and their relationship, where her mom seems to know more than she's letting on, obviously.
Yeah.
Way more than she's letting on. So when she puts these things on, which were delivered to her mom, the address was sent to her mom, that her mom then hid away, she gains her powers. Now, so the change up seems to be in this, that the Kree is going to be her ancestry instead of the Inhumans. But the Inhumans were created by the Kree in the first place, so it all relates. and it makes her closer to Captain Marvel. You know, in a way, because Captain Marvel has the Kree influence, and so that is going to tie her in. And I'm so excited in a way that I wasn't before for the Marvels film that's coming out soon. Oh my God, I'm sorry for it.
Are these nigga bands? And I mean, this is the assumption that that's what these are. These are things that are passed down in generations and families.
Well, no. Usually somebody dies and then somebody else pick them up.
Okay. Well, maybe they're gonna add
Keep
that.
it real.
Maybe they're gonna add that part in, you know, to make it more about family and tradition as opposed to, you know, you found this item. Then I mean, found spear. Like, okay,
it's fast like that because so many people have worn the nigga bands.
Yeah.
Like at one point, Rick Jones. They've never even introduced Rick Jones, right? Rick Jones is like he's every hero's sidekick in the comics. Like at one point, he was Bucky. He started off rolling around with the Hulk all the time, but he's always the sidekick. You know what I mean? And he's just a dude. But at one point, he gets the nigga bands. Like, you know, everybody and their mama has had the nigga bands. You can't say that word fast either, dog. I just realized you cannot say
nigga bands. We're childish on this show.
It does not sound right at all.
Hey, man.
Oh my God, I'm about to have an AKA that ain't right. Moving on.
And just lastly, out of the whole family and tradition, they really more idea of tradition, and this is kind of subversive in a way. Traditionally, who have you seen saving the world when it comes to comics and things like that?
White people.
White women, white men, white TM.
Yeah, somebody on our YouTube was like, you know, why y'all on Wanda? She ain't got that much privilege. I was like, all the Marvel heroes have privilege. They're white. I mean, like, dog, like, it starts there. Like, all of them are white.
She didn't die, my God. She got all the privilege in the world.
I mean, she's white. Like, it starts there. Like, before she has powers, dog, you know?
Like, yes, like, that's a great deal. But anyway, we're not talking about Wanda. We're talking about this. And I said this subversive idea of tradition about, as I mentioned, who do you normally see seeing this stuff? Kamala touches on that when she has a chat with Bruno on the roof. And she says, it's not really the brown girls from Jersey City that saved the world. And it was a purposeful pregnant pause there.
Yep.
Because it wanted you to obviously just the tone of what she's saying, like, and how she feels. She felt defeated. She felt like, you know, there's no representation for her, for a brown girl, right? There's no representation for her to show that she is part of what's saving the world, part of what's changed the world for the better, things like that. She doesn't have that. And luckily she has an advocate for her, a friend, a real friend for her that's like, nah, bro, you can do anything you want. And I thought that was the sweetest thing. Like, that's a real friend. That's like, bro, like, regardless of how you feeling down for yourself, you can literally do anything you want. And I believe you. I believe in you. So that was...
You're Kamala Khan.
Right.
The way he says it.
Like he says her name. And I'm saying that when we talk about strength in name and strength in culture and why it's important not to do things like, oh, I don't see color. It's fucking important you see color, okay? Because there's strength in our color. There's strength in what makes us as a people, regardless of who your people are, understand? So it's particularly, and I'm talking about people of color, but I just found that to be a really beautiful point or line that came out. And, you know, just talking about how this is really the opening of the Miss Marvel tradition, right? That yes, there are brown girls that save the world. Yes, there are people who look unlike the tradition that are going to be the future and the future of the MCU.
Once again, shout out to G Willow Wilson, because that bar is bar for bar, word for word from the comic book.
Really?
Yes.
Soldier
As
Boy,
are a lot
of
lines in the first two episodes, scenes, everything are taken from the comic book. And while we've discussed this before, but it always bears mentioning, the writers and artists of these comics are not getting paid at the same rate that these writers and creators of these television shows, or the producers, or everyone else involved, the president of the company. You know, they're usually just left out or given a very small check. And I would feel bothered if I was someone like G Willow Wilson and I was not getting at least some type of percentage, because there are scenes where it is their words taken and put on screen. And
we don't know.
We don't know the deal.
Yeah, we don't know the deal. But if it's not, that's fucked up.
There it is.
Yeah.
On to the next theme.
On to the next theme, which I'm seeing a pattern here when it comes to Disney Plus shows and the MCU in general.
It's the Pixar, it's like when you got a method of telling your story, when you got something that works, you don't break it.
We have another theme of dreams and being a dreamer and really fantasy versus reality. We see that very heavily prominent when it comes to Kamala's perspectives and how people view her versus how she views herself and really how she carries herself in the world. And with the added context of Doctor Strange, when I think about things about dreams and what they really are, at least according to the MCU, it just adds another layer of, okay, I see what you're doing, Marvel. But anyway, when it comes to this theme, fantasy versus reality, this episode 1, the story overall, it seems to be being told from Kamala's perspective. So everything is animated, everything is moving, everything is colorful, everything is from her world, her mind, right? Her mind is highly creative. Her mind is highly imaginative. You see that she often finds herself or it seems like she's just dozing off into another world when people are talking to her. She had a conversation with her principal, number one, where he said, it hasn't even been 30 seconds and you're clocked out already, right?
Yeah, and that was such a dope scene as well because there's another one where he's like, hasn't been a good week for you. And it's just cut.
Yep.
And it just shows you instead of telling you what her week was like.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
She often, and unfortunately, this is the bad rap a lot of people who are imaginative or who are creative at heart. They get this bad rap of, they have attention deficit or something like that. Like, because her mind wanders off or she seems to be focused elsewhere. It's not it's not necessarily that she may have a hard time focusing. She just learns differently, right? She interacts with the world differently. But I did love to see that, as you say, show, not tell. You literally see her thoughts and her imagination come alive in the world around her, on the walls, the graffiti and the mural art on the walls around her. In the signs when she's having text messages with Bruno.
That shit
blew my mind, but
how they did the text messages and they do some other shit with them in the second episode where I'm just like, fuck y'all.
Now,
you know what I mean?
Because they were so good.
Yeah,
because you know what's been overdone now? The whole text message conversation where the text message actually appears on screen. Like you see the actual iPhone, the iMessage. That's been done a million times away.
To do it, and they're like, "This is how you do it."
That's been done and regurgitated 20 million times.
Yep.
Miss Marvel found a new way to do it, and I said, "God damn, the way you fucking saw their message in the Bruno lives in a fucking corner store, okay?" You saw it in the signs and the neon signs behind them, their message as he's going up to his room.
And the conversation is moving.
The conversation,
dot in the
conversation,
screen.
Literally the fluidity of the conversation is matched with the fluidity of the scene. You see, it's a tracking shot where the camera does not stop and follows the character. It happens several times. I mentioned it happens when they're having that conversation about putting together the Captain Marvel cosplay when they're on their bikes. And it tracks them going down the block. It even tracks them when they turn the corner. Like you see how like the building turns, right? It's like they're riding forward, but they're just somehow they turn with it. But anyway, it tracks them, and you see behind them the graffiti and the wall art when they're talking about all the different versions of Captain Marvel, and like their conversation is in flow. The animation is in flow with them. The marrying rather. Of animation, of on-screen animation and live action is just, it was breathtaking. I was just like, they're so fucking smart.
Yeah, so well done.
It's so fucking well done.
No, just stupid. I got nothing to say. Like, I was just blown away. Like, damn, it was so, like, like we said, we see the zombie Captain Marvel. We see all these, and it's such a cosplay moment too, because it's like things that we've done, like mashing up different variations. He's like, you want to be a princess? And she's like, no, I want to be a princess.
You want to be Black Panther Captain Marvel? You want to be Doctor Strange Captain Marvel? It's so cosplay. It's so Comic-Con convention.
It's so fan. It's so being such a fan.
It's so fan. It's so for all nerds, right?
Yes.
Like, it's so also multiverse. We saw in Doctor Strange, there's a multiverse. There's a section of the multiverse that's all animation. There's one that's all cartoon scribbles, like a 5-year-old drawing. Like, there's a whole universe where it's just animated, right? And we've seen that with Spider-Verse, Into the Spider, that itself is animated, but there's different forms of animation. Just the fact that even behind them could be interpreted as its own universe. Their conversation, their friendship is its own universe. That shit blows my mind.
Now that you say that, I'm really mad they didn't work out something where Doctor Strange, when he popped through the animation, we saw somebody from Spider-Verse.
That's what I just said. They should have spent more time there. That would have been like, whatever. I'm gonna get mad. You're making me mad. But anyway. Oh, speaking of everyone, if you haven't seen, watch our review of our all-star review, actually, of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse, powered by For All Nerds. Watch it on our YouTube page right now, youtube.com/forallnerds. And then finally, this whole idea of this fantasy versus reality, everyone around Kamala, including her mother, especially her mother, tells her she's living in this fantasy world, that she needs to figure out who she is, that she needs to focus in on herself, not on the comic book and fandom world and fan art, and that they're constantly telling her she needs to join reality.
Mm-hmm.
That's also going to be foreshadowing as well. But.
Of huge foreshadowing. And also it's which we'll talk about a lot more later, or a little bit more, is the hero's journey. But also a big character in this episode and series so far is her school. And everything that takes place at school, because it's like she has her home life, she has her school life, she has this fantasy, life that she's living in, and then she's gonna get the superhero life. And while the school life is a lot of it keeps dragging her back down, and that's something that we talked about earlier. Is there's this wordless scene in the school where she's playing dodgeball right after her and Bruno get their plan together, and they're like, "Yeah, we got it." And that was another fantastic shot, because they open up their lockers and there's a bar between them, and he doesn't believe her idea, and then he crosses over to her locker and there's no more bar between them, and now he believes her idea. She's got Bruno on her side. They're gonna do it. Boom. School, dodgeball, hits her in the face. She goes home and her mom tells her, "What are you talking about?" And it's like all done without a word. And it's just like,
That happens also in the principal's office, when the principal is telling her, "Yo, you need to learn about school," and you see the scene start showing that they're at odds, right? Like this literal split screen, like the principal is saying all this stuff to her and weighing her, it's weighing her down, and it's making her depressed. And it's just like, damn, and she even says, I gotta figure out my life before Friday. You know what I mean? Like, I'm 16, and like, I just know how that was, right? I don't know if you felt that way either, but I think almost every teenager felt that way in some way. Like, damn, y'all want me to figure out everything right now? Or like the rush of adulthood and responsibility seems to be like getting louder behind you, and you're just like, fam, I'm just trying to be me. I'm just trying to live life.
Yep.
So we'll see her join reality very, very soon. She kind of already has in this first episode. The last couple of themes here: Jersey City, huge theme. Jersey City as a place is a character in and of itself. I don't live far from Jersey City, and I've been there many, many times. I maybe go once every couple of weeks or something like that, just to go down there to go get some food, whatever. What you see, how they've established it, is literally pretty much Jersey City. Like,
nice.
It's prolific wall art everywhere in the downtown area, like away from the city buildings, the office buildings. When you start coming into where like the cultural centers, when you come into the shopping districts, the places where all the restaurants are. There are tons of mural art, tons of wall art.
I gotta go out there.
Like it's like there's this one huge one. I don't know if that's in here. If it's in the city. I'm thinking of the David Bowie one, but there's just beautiful wall art all over. So that's for real. In real life, there's a very cultural non-white community that lives there. It's there's actually a really huge Indian community that lives there. There's a there's a big Pakistani community that lives there as well. Outside of English, the most common non-English language spoken in Jersey City is Spanish, Hindi, and Arabic. And also, Jersey City is New Jersey's second most populated city with 290,000 residents. And as I said at the top, this proximity to New York. Also, when we talk about Ben, we talk about how the events of the MCU affect pop culture, affect social culture. That proximity of Jersey City lends to the relevance of events in the MCU. And probably how Kamala saw everything. Like, I wonder if she was too young or just young enough. Like, she probably saw everything that happened.
No, you gotta remember, she has we see her pick up her art. She's been like this since she was a kid. Right before she finds the bracelets.
So what she
finds
around?
Her young.
Go ahead.
She's she's 16 now, right? So the MCU is 10 years.
So the battle. So she was okay. So
5. Yes, that's her life.
So
the attack on New York is
potentially
like
seen the Battle of New York, like firsthand, right?
Hell yeah.
Once again, for those who don't know, when I say proximity, like literally,
right there.
if you open your goddamn eyes, if you step on the street of Jersey City and you're by the water, you can see generally the entire downtown New York. And anything that's happening in the city ain't that long. If anything major like that's happening, you're gonna fucking see it.
You're gonna see it.
It's picturesque. You're gonna fucking see it. So.
You're gonna see it, dog. So you're gonna see some Chitauri flying around on their little joints and dragons flying through the air and a portal in the sky. You're gonna see all that. That is your whole life. So this is how she been, you know.
And we saw how Hawkeye. We saw your girl Kate. Like she was, I don't know if she was 10 or whatever how old she was, 8 years old when she was in the middle of that shit. Right? She's in fucking Grand Central, you know, going through it. You see Kamala across the water, like, oh shit, you know what I mean? So like these are kids that are directly affected by this shit. And again, we're finally seeing the effects of how this matters to the people who've lived through it and children who've lived through it.
Mm-hmm. And with that line about Jersey and being from Jersey is big in both ways because Jersey has always had that thing where it feels like it's the little brother to New York.
Yes.
And like, especially with hip hop culture, there's a lot of rappers who always, and Jersey has produced some of the best rappers,
and that's
but they
Newark.
still don't get no credit.
Yeah.
Still don't get no credit. You know what I mean? It's so many great rappers from Jersey, and Jersey
Queen
still don't get no credit.
Latifah.
Redman, I mean, come on, fam. We can go on and on. You know, Artifacts, you know, like Lords of the Underground. So many greats from Jersey, but ain't no love.
Well, I think there's love now. Let's love now. Especially, I would say, like, I mean, it's not rap, but when we think about like Jersey club music and stuff, that got real prolific off of TikTok and stuff like that.
I mean, stuff like that gets, but them TikTok, they don't even know what it is now. They probably call white club music.
Oh, Gen Z music. No, nigga, this is Jersey club music. But anyway, and then finally, a pattern that kept happening in this episode I noticed was the idea of the bracelets. And Ben, I mean, you gave great history on.
The nega bands.
I was calling them the nega bracelets.
The
nega bracelets. Nega bands.
The bands make you dance.
I like that. I love that song.
There we go.
I will never forget that song. These power bracelets, as again, maybe from a mother abused Kamala with some sort of celestial plane power, force power, whatever the fuck. It also gives her or facilitates these stretching abilities. You see that when the embiggen abilities when she stretches out her hand and it becomes big to catch her frenemy from dying from that fall. And Kamala wears a bunch of bracelets when she runs those errands with her mom, when she's going into like that I just, again, there's a lot of shopping districts, and this is particularly seems like to be a Pakistani shopping district. So she's in there trying on the jewelry, you know, flossing, shit like that.
Yeah. And the nega bands will make you dance. We will see much more from them. The nega
bands will make you dance. That's your new AKA.
There we go.
You're welcome.
There we go. There we go.
Let's get into the characters of this series. Again, please, I know I've been interchanging the pronunciation of this amazing character's name. I apologize. Yeah. In my mind, I've taught myself to say Kamala Harris, and then I'm seeing Kamala. So I'm fighting. I'm fighting for my fucking life here, y'all. But
me too.
I'm trying to do my best, but I'm trying to say it like her parents say it. That's how I keep trying to remember. But Kamala Khan, played by Iman Vellani. Kamala is actually a very common Arabic name. It means a lot of different things, primarily like born of the lotus. It means desirous, beautiful, all these other things. It's a beautiful name.
Too many.
Yeah. Yeah.
Too many of them.
Iman Vellani. I love her. As an actress, she's amazing. I love her.
Look.
I love her. She fucking ate. She ate that fucking dialogue. She ate every scene. Like, I believed her. She's playing a 16-year-old. She's 19 in real life. Whatever. Here we go.
Let me just say, like, because I liked Kate Bishop. You know, as we've talked about before on Views, I'm a huge fan of the Young Avengers and everything, you know, Marvel's youth characters. I love them so much. Kamala, you know, Miss Marvel's another one. I'm just a huge fan. And I like Kate, but it wasn't the Kate that I knew. And then we had America Chavez.
Oh,
and, you know, America was wronged. You know, like I keep saying, Wong was right, America was wronged. And That's all I can say about that. Wrong in every sense of just not the hit.
Yeah.
So I was worried, but like I said at the top, Kevin Feige kept being like, "Yo, she carries around a notebook of ideas. She is on it."
Iman she was one of the reasons why she was casted, because they were really impressed. Even her audition behind her, like, you see how behind you, your background, like she had a whole room full of that stuff. Like, and then she said, "Oh, y'all ain't seen nothing yet." And she opened up like a closet and it was just full of like Captain Marvel and random shit. Like, she's a true fan. She is a true for all nerd. You know what I'm saying? So like that's what she do. So this is in her blood. This is in her person and her personality. So that's I can see that. Like this was what's the word? This was
Destiny.
This is Destiny, yes.
Yeah, because she's a beast.
I feel like it was Destiny, and it was authentic. That's the word I'm looking for. It was authentic to her. Like, I felt like she wasn't acting, if that makes sense, right? Like, she wasn't trying to be this person. She really wasn't. Like, this is her lane.
Yeah, and I think she is acting, because even when you are that person, doing it on screen is a different talent. And she, like, we
the
are
best actors. They act without you realizing they're acting.
Yes, that's true. But like, we are these people, and doing this is a talent, because we are these people, but projecting this energy is a talent. But being an actor and being on screen and being able to say all these things with your facial expressions and all these different things, emoting she has it all. Like, and like I said before, she's going to be in the Marvel's film, so we're already going to get to see her on the big screen. But I see Miss Marvel now, like, leading the next version of Avengers. Yeah,
she has the chops. She has the magic, and really, this was such a strong this is one of the strongest openings for a newer character that I've seen. It probably is the best.
Yeah,
I'm just talking about the kids. I'm talking about even the adults, like beyond Moon Knight.
It's up there with the Tony Starks. Yeah, it's up there with the Iron Man introductions.
You're going to really. I feel like even if you don't agree with nothing that she does, or you're not even with her, that just as a person, you will fuck with Kamala. Like, she's likable. She's very relatable. She has a great personality. Like, she is you and me. You understand? Like, and again, the actress Iman Vellani, she's actually Pakistani Canadian. So she has the background of this Pakistani American character. Canada's right there, close enough. So, but no, like, this is one of the most strong intros to any Marvel character thus far for me.
The difference between America and Canada is that in Canada, there's racism, but they say they're sorry.
Ooh! And moving on, when it comes to this character of Kamala Khan, Captain Marvel is her idol. She is drips out everything. Captain Marvel, everything, all in her room, all in obviously her cosplay. Everything, her opening statement, I call her, when she is really her YouTube video where she's just telling the story. She says of Earth's mightiest hero, Captain Marvel. She doesn't say the mightiest hero. She's not talking about the Avengers. She's talking about the one that punched Thanos in the face.
In the face?
So, she's 16, as I mentioned. So she's in her junior year of high school. They're like, "Bro, you need to start thinking about college." Yada yada mean. And she's just like, "I don't know about that. I'm just trying to do my fan art." She's not popular. Life literally hits her in the face several times. We see with Dodgeball that's happened before. It happens again, unfortunately. She is, as I call, a struggling YouTuber.
She's falling into the Hudson River.
She's falling into the Hudson River. First of all, the Hudson River is toxic.
Let's talk about that.
Don't fall into that shit. She, according to Bruno, her bestie, she's fallen like 3 times. She's really fallen in twice. But the point is, how the fuck you falling in? But again, proximity to the city. She's a struggling YouTuber with her Sloth Baby Productions. Is that from the books, or that's just a thing that they
I don't know that one. That might Sloth Baby. I don't know. That might be something from the book, but I don't know.
Okay. Struggling because she only has 2 subscribers. It's both Bruno and Nakia, and also just a handful of views. But she does have top-notch production. Her production is fire flames to me.
Top-notch.
And that happens to a lot of creators. This shit happens to us. It's like, yo, we put our life and soul into it, and this shit is bananas, right? We put in so much production and professional into it, and then it's like, 100
views.
And I know other people are like, yo, but you got to think of it in context, right? That means 100 people. If 100 people were in a room right now and said, yo, I fuck with your shit, that would hit different. That would hit different, right?
Yeah,
It's just that we're so used to the numbers and all that stuff. So
no, we ain't no. We saying you used to know numbers because it's always broke. Look, I ain't used to nothing. I'm used to like, I'm happy for every 100, but like you said, you don't see the 100 people in front of you.
Right.
Also, this come up again when we get to Bruno, but my man has no game because he sits there and's like, I don't know who did this channel on as his comment. Bruno Cavelli, straight up.
No, he said, "Who runs this channel?" It's so
wow.
Awesome. Your name is in the comments, sir. Like your name is tied to the comments.
Yeah, you can at least come in with a fake name,
right?
But no game, Bruno.
Bruno's so sweet. Poor guy. In the books we know of Kamala, she is negotiating living life as a Pakistani American teenager, obviously being different as the multiple different ways, and how her faith comes into play. I know we're going to see much more of that as this TV series goes on, but you've already seen quite a lot of it in the first episode.
That goes to everything with like the language that is just thrown into this episode.
The Urdu that's being spoken, yeah.
The Urdu, the Arabic words. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Urdu is a combination of a lot of different languages. So it has like Arabic influence, it has like East Asian influences. But when her mom said, you can go, even though I know that should be a lot of haram in there, I was just crying because, oh my God, I've heard that too many times. Like haram versus
was that
halal,
like some foolishness and shit?
Yeah, haram is basically of the world versus halal, which is of God. Those are the two.
Yeah.
And basically, when you get around strict people, everything is haram. Nigga, like, The two things that kill me because of my, like friends and stuff was that and the references to jinn. Like when the dad is talking about how the jinn is taking control of the Zuzu.
Yes.
Because when I was in Dubai, if any bad thing happened,
they blamed
it was
on the
evil jinn. And it's to the point where they told me that not even that, like people in Dubai were like, nah, these people who are in power, they got jinns working for them. And that's why this is going down. And I'm like, yo. Like they got one sitting in the room, like, all right, what's next, dog?
That same black Southern culture. It's the devil. She got the devil in her,
Fam, that's why it was so relatable because it's all the shit I grew up with, like
demonized.
I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I was so worried about being called a Satan worshiper because that was the culture I grew up in of Black Baptist, Southern Baptist. Like,
yeah.
Whew. Yeah.
Baptist America. Oh shit, that's a new AKA.
Southern, you gotta do it with the Southern
Baptist America. I told y'all we just do this. Kamala. I'm sorry, y'all. Yeah. She didn't mean to, but she definitely deeply hurt her parents. Deeply hurt them when it took everything in them, and of course, some help from her brother talking to them. It took everything in them to decide to let her go to this Avenger Con. And they said, but we gonna do this, we gotta do it our way, right? It was like, yo, dad gotta go with you. Mom's comes out with the traditional fit that she put together to be the Hulk. Dad comes out in the face paint. And it just reminded me, and it's so like whole, it's like, what's the word? Not wholehearted. What is this? Lighthearted and sweetheart. Is it wholehearted? Like when you see like the parents that come to the Comic Cons, and I think it's the sweetest things when they do dress up just like their kids or like they're the Avengers family and shit like that. Like that shit is so sweet to me. And again, I'm an adult now, so I saw what the parents were trying to do, but it was embarrassing. But the words she used were hurtful, right? And she didn't mean to, but she said, she essentially said, I'm not trying to be humiliated by y'all. And when I say they faces dropped to the motherfucking floor, they were like, you could, their heart and body deflated. Pops was sick. Like, he was like, damn, I did all this shit. Like, he, his whole body was green. He was like, I wanted to be Big Hulk with you, Beta. I wanted to be your Big Hulk. You was going to be Little Hulk.
When my man said, you're not going to go.
Right.
He already knew. Like, he already knew, ain't no way you gonna meet. Yo, son look like fam on Arrested Development when he tried out for Blue Man Group and dressed himself as a blue man. Like, because he had that same mustache sticking through the makeup. It wasn't right. Like I feel he
Like
popped,
it looked
you know?
off. Like
I feel the attempt, but dog, you
like
look,
that shit look wild, my guy. Like that shit ain't right.
my man was slathered in green.
So like I said, I didn't blame Kamala for feeling like that. Kamala for feeling like that. It's just I was just like, oh fuck, man, you didn't have to say it like that. And even she said, damn, I ain't mean it like that.
Yeah, she straight up turned into Bart Simpson with the "you tried" cake. Straight up gave him the "you tried," dog. Now dump that shit in the trash.
Yeah. Oof. All right. We have
Try and wash
Kamala's
that shit down your shower. Your shower looking green as fuck. You know you mad as hell.
we have Kamala's bestie, Bruno Corelli, played by Matt Lintz. As I said, bestie and confidant. He has a big time crush on her.
Super.
And no game.
None.
As Benhameen said.
He was me.
He's a sweet boy, as far as I know.
I was him.
He's as far as we see, he's a very sweet boy. He just wants the best. He literally will do anything for Kamala. Anything for this girl. He is a tech wizard. As you see, he makes this Zuzu, basically an Alexa ripoff that controls the devices in the house. He makes these photon gloves as part of the Captain Marvel cosplay. You see at one point, you see information about Caltech. He clearly wants to attend to go there for school. He's all about, it's some gifted program. Like he just, he's all about that life. To me, he is Kamala's man in the chair. He's to Kamala what Ned is to Tom Holland's Peter Parker.
For now.
We shall
I don't
see what
trust this
happens.
Negro.
Right. Right. I don't 100% trust him because, she might do something to hurt his feelings. We'll see.
She already did.
She kind of already did, like, the photon gloves. Like, he put his heart and soul into it. And you saw them basically dancing and carrying on, all this haram on the fucking roof. And then she absentmindedly, I know she was in a rush, but she absentmindedly leaves the gloves in the bathroom. And she's like, oops, my fault. And
my bad.
And you kind of see in his face, like, I put in 500 man hours on that, and you just leave it in the bathroom. So that's why I'm like,
bathroom.
She's probably taking Bruno for granted, and not because he likes her. It has nothing to do with it. Just as a friend, like he's putting, when you can't recognize what they say, the grass is green on the other side. Like you can't recognize what you have, or you feel like the grass is greener, but it's like right around you is everything you need. Your friend group of 3 is just enough. So I don't know. We'll see how that ends up. Yeah.
Bruno's broke,
and Bruno seems to not have a family or very little family.
Very little family. In the comics, Bruno has an older brother who gets him into some ish. There's a mention in this episode, another language thing where Miss Marvel's mom tells Bruno when she's giving him food that the spicy is for your Nuna.
Yeah.
Now, Nuna, as far as I know, is a Korean word, but I guess it's a word.
I thought that was somebody's name because it was capitalized.
Okay, well, Nuna in Korean is big sister.
Oh.
And I think it's one of those words that, because East Asian, across everything.
Cultures, yeah.
So I think she's saying that in this, they might give him a big sister. In the comics, he has a big brother who gets him into hellacious trouble and all kind of ish. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, she said the spicy was for your Nuna.
Basically, potentially big sister, and but generally, at least twice now, we've seen he's by himself. He apparently works at this corner store and lives above it.
He got one outfit.
He got one outfit. Don't say that's not funny.
Look.
He with the little loading symbol. He has like an Apple loading symbol on him. I didn't get to see what the word said, but he's a tech guy, and he, as far as I know, he's generally speaking alone, right? He goes up to his room alone. He's in that store alone. He really only has Kamala, so I don't know. And you mentioned about the smoothies. Like he makes a bunch of slushies or smoothies that she likes. I thought they were like slushies, like 7-Eleven
slushies. Yeah, Slurpee.
Okay.
And they're called Holt Smushed on the machine.
Gotcha. As Benhameen said, you probably can't trust him. Hopefully he don't turn into. Who's a real smart guy that turned bad? Like, not Doc Ock, but I guess I don't want him to turn like a Hobgoblin situation. Or maybe Doc Ock, but...
I just worry about him because like I said, he was I and I was him. Like I was definitely that nice guy, who didn't know how to talk to the girls I really liked and was really friends with a lot of women who I really liked and didn't know how to express that. And when I did, it didn't go right. And you'd be like, oh, why don't they like me and all that? And when you're like
When
that,
you're young. Yeah.
and you're in a world where there's superheroes, supervillainy is not far from that. So
I
being a
wouldn't
tech.
I hope not, but I wouldn't be surprised in a few episodes where he's finally fed up with her shit. He's like, all this shit I'll be making for you, and you don't give a fuck about me. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be surprised. I hope not, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah. And just finally, this kind of like Easter egg, kind of just cool anecdote. He actually back in 2019 played Henry in The Walking Dead, where he essentially becomes Carol's adoptive son when she lived in the kingdom alongside Ezekiel. And his real life, he is the real life younger brother to the actress that played Carol's blood daughter, Sophia.
Who caught a bad one.
Caught a bad one. Everybody catching bad ones. Anybody related to Carol is catching bad ones, apparently. Or even adopted by Carol is not going to be in for a good time.
I guess he probably caught a bad one, too, because he ain't on that show no more.
Oh, no. I don't remember what happened to his character, but yeah. If anything.
Bad one. Yeah, I mean, that's what happens to people on The Walking Dead in general. Bad ones. Like, it is what it is.
We have Nakia, played by Yasmin Fletcher. She is Kamala's friend, another friend. She's the other friend who actually has a hilarious bet that whether she's going to show up for school since she failed the driving test.
Yep.
You said she's a baller and she fly. I love her style. Her style is on point.
Yes, baller and very fly. Definitely got money, is the contrast. And it shows how Kamala is so, diverse in her world because she has Nakia, who is a straight up rich kid. And then she also has, Bruno, who is, we don't talk about Bruno broke.
I knew he was going to make that joke. I thought about it earlier.
Somebody had to, dog. You know what I mean? It's going to be made across every, like, if he turns bad, that is going to be a headline on every website, guarantee it.
Yeah. Is Nakia in the book?
Yes.
Okay. And she plays that same, and
yeah, same.
And she wears hijab.
Yes, and that'll come up in the second episode. We'll see more about her in the second one. That's all I'll say on that. But yeah, she's a very dope character, and I love what they do with her. Like, you don't get to see too much in the first, but in the second, you get to see more with her. And it's this show, man. Like this episode especially, and because both episodes carry the same kind of lighthearted tone, but the second episode definitely gets into a lot more of the culture, and there is a lot of things that we'll talk about on our next review. And it's just handled with such a swift hand, the way they bring up all these different topics. And Nakia is a whole nother section of this topic that they bring up that is so ill. And the way they're weaving all this stuff in and giving you history and culture lessons and telling you about the world that exists right now. Just,
yeah. And it is of note that most of the cast, including like the writers and the executive producers and stuff like that, do have Pakistani background of some sort, Pakistani American or Pakistani Canadian or whatever. There are a few of the actors, namely her mom and dad, if I'm reading right, are actually Indian. But
that gets into everything that we're talking about. The Indian and Pakistani culture are so close and yet so far away. Yes, and it's such a wild thing, and white people, it's. And like I said, the second episode, y'all, I'm warning y'all because there's a lot of history in the second episode that is dark and real, and it's distrust, and there's gonna be a lot of Googling when that second episode comes out, and I'm loving it. But I'm also warning y'all, some of this stuff is very dark in its history that as Americans we're not taught like that.
Yeah. We also see the character Zoe Zimmer, played by Laurel Marsden. It seems like that she grew up with Kamala, but they lost touch over the years. Somebody gets, and we find out that she apparently gets online famous. She gets like 80,000 followers. Kamala is obviously tracking her progress because she corrects people about this girl, and they might have even been besties at one point. And
they were childhood friends, and it's all that, man. Like, I just related so much because I remember that, it'd be like kids I grew up with, and then they became the cool kids, and we became the dorks. Yeah. And it was like the cool kids didn't know me no more, But I was like, yo, we used to be cool. And I used to be at your house playing in elementary school. You know what I mean?
What Kamala says, she says her mom used to drive them both to school.
Yeah,
Like they used to,
fam, and then it'd be like, or the white kids, you know, like once like I realized I was black and they realized they were white, you know, some of them I stopped being cool with, you know.
Yeah.
It was, man, like I just related.
Yeah.
Yep.
We have also, just rounding out the people in the school, we have Mr. Gabe, Gabe Wilson, the school principal. Yes. Seems very obsessed with cats, but also friendly to Kamala, and also a riff off of G Willow Wilson's name. So GWWC on his placard, and obviously that's G Willow Wilson's.
I'm sure we're gonna find out his middle name is something with W.
Right. But his name is Wilson. His name is Gabe Wilson, and he says, "My father's Mr. Wilson. Call me Gabe." And I'm like, "Oh, so y'all, this is the Wilson family, just Yeah. Down
and he's
the
also
timeline.
the Gabe Wilson, because I know he's like, my dad's name is also Gabe, so that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And the obsession with cats, because he has a little screensaver. He got just
everything.
Hang on.
He got everything. His cup, his mug.
Oh, I missed the mug.
The mug got a cat on it.
He's definitely that principal. Like, we've all had him, that teacher, principal, whatever, who thought they were cooler than they are. Yeah, and man, I can never remember my favorite teacher's name, but he was the same way. But he was actually cool. I thought that dude was cool. I did not, Mr. Wilson did not come off of school, and I don't think Kamala thinks he's cool either. Yeah.
So getting to the parents, we have Muniba Khan, or Muniba, played by Zenobia Shroff. She is Kamala's mom, her Ami.
Yep.
In the opening, she tells Kamala when she's talking about her driving test, make sure you look in the mirror every 15 seconds. And the reason why I'm making mention of this, and also making a mention of how her father reacts to this, is because her mom is very on a straight and narrow. Her mom is very, you could tell something happened in the mom's past that changed her to be less. She might have been more free and more forgiving, but something happened where she's like, nope, this is life and this is how we gonna do it. She's like, do everything by the book, by the letter, and your life will be good for it. I thought it was funny. Like, I was trying to translate some of the wording that the mom used. Like, she basically called the driving instructor a meanie. Like, when she says chalo a lot, she's talking about let's go. Beta, and apologies again for my pronunciation, but beta is Urdu for son, but grown-ups use it affectionately for both males and females that are significantly younger than them. So, you see how she calls that to Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno.
And I've even heard that in Ethiopia a lot. I've heard Beta a lot in Ethiopia.
Really?
Yep.
Really? Yeah. It reminds me of things like mijo, like in Spanish, and things like that. And, there's a lot of this in every culture and language. You get that, those kind of pet names, terms of endearment, I should say. Yeah. Yeah. She says a very prevalent line here. She says, I come from a long line of fantasizing, unrealistic daydreamers. She says this when she's like underhandedly not blaming Kamala, but blaming her for failing the test.
She knows what it is.
That she's like, I should have known. It's my DNA. It's my genes that are doing this to you. I come from a long line of fantasizing, unrealistic daydreamers. She's talking about her mom and potentially more people beyond that. And why I asked you earlier, Ben, at least in this story, are they going to say these bracelets were handed down in their family?
Most definitely. And beyond that, like I said, some stuff that comes up in the second episode involves the partition of India and Pakistan. And it was a turbulent time, to say the very least. Like, we'll get a lot more into that in the second episode. We'll really get into some history lessons there. But just to give you a quick part of understanding is her grandmother was alive during this time. This is very recent. This is 1947. So this is one of the worst things to ever happen in the history of the world. And her grandmother was alive during it. So her mother's mother was alive during this. So this is something that has a huge effect on their family beyond these nega bands being in their family. So there's a lot going on that would make her mom be like, nah, we gotta stay straight and narrow. Yeah.
And that
halal
idea,
all day.
That idea of her, and she's using it as a pejorative, right? Fantasizing, unrealistic daydreamer, right? Like, as I said, I feel like maybe Muniba may have been like that once upon a time, and then something major happened that turned her off to it. Or maybe her mom promised something to her, and it's because of an action or inaction from her mom that it had dire consequences to her life, and then she just viewed all daydreamers as basically lazy goats or whatever. Like you're not good for anything. So here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah, and then as we see, those bracelets actually come from a shipment, and her mom Muniba calls it junk, but we know it's not. And she says, "Oh, your nani, your grandmother sent that to you." And we see Muniba recognizes those bracelets right away. When Kamala lifts them up, and like the camera like shows Kamala looking at it, and then you see her mom in the background. She makes this face like, "Oh shit, how did like." There's some history back there. It's obvious backstory there.
Is there?
You said much more so in the comics.
No, she's much more so conservative in the comics. Yeah, she is a strict woman in the comics. You see hints of, not even hints, a lot more kindness. In the comics, she is definitely much more hard-edged and trying to keep, but it's also because she knows the history of their family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She seems to go back and forth with supporting Kamala during and like kind of like doing the opposite of what she says because she just wants what's best for her. And that's what I'm saying. It's some internal struggle mom is having, some internal struggle Ami is having. Mm-hmm. Because prime example, when they're in the shop, when Kamala is getting fitted, the shopkeeper is like, "Oh, you're too short for this fit." Ami is like, "Nah, it's too long." And that's the right way to go about it, right? It's nothing wrong with my daughter. Yeah, and this is a piece of clothing. The clothing can be changed to match and fit her, right?
Yep.
But then later when the friend comes in and kind of reestablishes the hierarchy of the culture and the tradition and conservatism, that's when the friend says, or the auntie says, "Oh yeah, that shit is too long." Ami says, "Oh yeah, it's too long."
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like that idea, like, her mom probably would be more free, but she has these constraints of trying to be, doing the right thing, and of the culture is kind of changing, or has already changed how she views and interacts with her daughter.
Yep.
Yeah. We have Yusuf Khan, played by Mohan Kapoor. That is Kamala's dad, her Abu. Dad, his way is, he was like, "You don't need to keep looking at the mirrors every 15 seconds. Just make sure the instructor sees you're moving your head," right? Dad has a little bit more leniency, right? And that seems to be the way he's been, as you see the contrast of how the parents parent. He seemed to be like, "Oh, when he accidentally says you're weird or you're different, like he didn't mean it in a weird way. He was like, I meant you're special," right? Mm-hmm. Like he was trying to smooth it over. But the fact is I do feel that's how he really does feel about her. Like, "Oh, yeah, you're different, but it's okay to be different."
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And once again, this so reminds me, it's like my dad was more the stricter one, and my mom was much more of the, do whatever and supportive of me. But it always bugged me out how, like, my dad was super strict and always looked at me like, "Damn, my kid is weird." Because my dad is like super athletic, played basketball, the stuff I could never really do that well. And I was this dork, But then my dad really super supported my dorkdom quietly, Like, just, he'd take me to the comic shop. He'd go, he'd give me some money to go buy some Dungeons and Dragons. He'd help me put together some miniatures or whatever. Wouldn't say a word about it, and then would just keep it moving. So it was, I just love seeing this interaction because it just reminded me of my growing up with my family so much.
Yeah, yeah. And then we also finally have Amir Khan, played by Sagar Sheikh. Or Sheikh.
Sheikh.
No, Sheikh is probably with an L, but it could be pronounced Sheikh. But I'm going to say Sagar Sheikh. Please correct me later if y'all can. He plays Kamala's brother. And again, I just felt like he kept getting treated like he was the golden child, like he could do no wrong. He's the one getting married and the one that's he's the son, he's the boy. So he gets treated differently. It could be various reasons behind that, but also it tends to be a cultural thing.
It's definitely because he's the boy in this case.
Yeah.
And he's the oldest, so he's the prize.
His take on, before she goes to the road test, he tells her to say Bismillah before she starts the car. And Bismillah in Arabic, it means in the name of God, right? Yep. And there's more to it. It's actually a longer phrase, but the full phrase is like, "In the name of God, the merciful and the compassionate." So he's basically said, you better say your prayers and hope that you're going to make it, because, they don't have no faith in this girl. And like SpongeBob, she does the worst on her road test.
Damn sure does. And in the comics, Amir is much more of a bum. He has no job. Actually, we haven't seen if he really has a job here yet, but he does have a girlfriend.
Well, he don't have a driver's license. Because when he says that to her, she goes, thanks, the one without a driver's license.
So it might still be a bum, but he does have a girlfriend. So he's managing that. And in the comics, I don't even think he got no girl. He is strictly about the religion and still lives at home. And it's the older brother. And his family is like, yo, why don't you go get a job? And he's like, I can't have a job that is haram, basically, you know? And they're like, you gotta eat. Like, you crazy? You better get out there and do something. So
we don't know. We don't know.
We don't know.
Mean, he's getting married. So I'm like, I feel like no one will marry they girl off to a man that they ain't got no job. I mean,
I don't think he's near as much of a bum as he was in the comics. I think he's much more capable in the show.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
All right. Now we're entering into and closing out with our Easter eggs, inspiration, and music. Ben, I mean, you mentioned earlier how there's lots of influence from Mitchell versus the Machines, which is on Netflix, as well as Scott Pilgrim throughout this first episode, and we're probably going to see it throughout the series. About how her thoughts and feelings and emotions are personified and her interactions with others are personified on screen. You see...
Oh, we do.
We see that incredible... I thought it was so funny when the principal was going through all the stuff that happened that week to her, and when she got in trouble by the teacher held up that picture of her... the teacher held a picture of herself that Kamala drew with, you know, the ears, the squid ears or whatever those were, and it talked as the teacher talked. Like, that shit was perfect to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just too many dimensions.
Yeah, we get some pop culture in here. We see Scott Lang has a podcast called Big Me, Little Me. We
see Ant-Man and Wasp had a romance in Paris. That
Ant-Man
was another...
has some romance in Paris. Yes, is that tied to any of the films? Are we gonna?
No,
see?
I think that might be a hint towards Quantumania, though.
Okay.
Hopefully, that'd be ill.
Okay.
Yep.
Kamala in the intro when she's doing her intro, her literal intro to her YouTube video, or at the end rather of her YouTube video, she says that I'm going to prove that Thor is secretly a gamer, which is actually a callback. If you remember back in Endgame, depressed Thor, TM, he was playing Fortnite because that's all he was overeating, this and that. He was down bad and he became a gamer. And I hate that they made that equation that if you're a gamer, you're just down bad, because that's not true. But...
Thor's been a gamer since before being down bad.
Yeah.
And no, literally in one of the Marvel shorts, when he has a roommate, he's playing games with them. This is
okay.
So Thor been a gamer.
Okay, so Thor been a gamer. The intro song at the beginning of this very episode, we hear Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. That song has been done over and over and over again for a million ways. It's because it has that 80s feel. Is usually... No,
it's... Hold up. It's not 80s feel. It's a remake of...
Okay.
It's the beat, rhythm, everything.
It's from an 80s song.
It's from Aha, Take On Me.
I understand.
Yeah.
But because it has that 80s feel, it's because they try to use that, and because it's The Weeknd, they try to use that to bridge the gap. Like, I mean, when you think about it, Captain Marvel was a 90s, 80s character, at least in the MCU timeline, and then you're speeding along, and that's the only point I was trying to make in terms of feel.
Oh no, that's a perfect point, because it is a remake of... I just wanted to point out, it's not just the 80s feel, it's a remake. Of I mean, it's not a remake because his lyrics, everything are completely different, but it takes the same rhythm, the beat,
an interpolation. Is that what they call interpolation?
Yes, it's an interpolation of Aha's Take On Me. One of my favorite songs, and also another flip.
Is it a sample or is it an interpolation? I always get those.
It's an interpolation. When you replay, an interpolation is when you replay something. Okay. A sample is when you actually sample it. They did not sample it, they replay it. And it's really not even the same keys exactly, but they paid Aha, because there's no way you can get away with that.
It's too similar.
It's too similar. But what makes it an even doper use of it is Aha's video is a very famous video that uses animation Take On Me and reality at the same time.
That's a song?
Yes, Take On Me.
Right, okay, and there you go.
It's a famous video with black and white animation of a comic book where the dude is drawing the comic book and then the characters go into the comic book.
And he being chased by some cops or something. I've seen this on YouTube.
And he draws the woman out of the comic book.
That shit is some crack cocaine and do shit. But
that's... Growing up, that video was like it was just one of the greatest things I'd ever seen. It's like, it's such a classic. It's so well done to this day.
Yeah. But yeah, and again, it being an interpolation of a remake, Miss Marvel is an interpolation of Captain Marvel and all the different Marvels behind them, So
of Miss Marvel, because she's actually, like in the comics, Carol Danvers was Miss Marvel.
Correct.
So
and then she
became,
correct, exactly. She changed up to Captain Marvel. They said, okay, let's bring up Miss Marvel.
Yep, there you go.
Kamala attends Coles Academic High School, which the plaque outside, if you freeze frame it, says established 1979. Was that the first showing of Captain Marvel or anything to do with Marvel?
That might be the first showing of Captain Marvel. She might be from 19.
Okay.
She's definitely from the 70s.
The school said it was established in 1979, and then it shows a listing of actual Marvel writers and artists involved in the Miss Marvel comics over the years. So you have G Willow Wilson, you have Stephen Wacker, Adrian Alphona, Jamie McKelvey, as we love and know, Ian Herring, Takeshi Miyazawa, Joe Caramanga, and Nico Leon.
Mm-hmm. Jamie McKelvey did a lot of the covers for the first run of Miss Marvel, and they're so beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I had mentioned this already about the names. You know, Mr. Wilson, the principal, has GWW placard on his desk, an ode to G Willow Wilson. I asked this question to Benhameen when Kamala returned home after school, and her mom was like, "Turn that shit off" when she was watching TV. What was that show?
She is watching Felicity, starring Kerry Russell. And it's an old show from the 2000s, and it's basically a show about a young woman in high school. So it's yet another thing just showing you where our influences are coming from, like Aha, like The Weeknd, like Mitchell versus the Machines. Boom.
Okay.
Yep.
Also
you see in the quick shot, Felicity is kissing a dude, and her mom comes in and is like, "What? You know what's that filth you're watching? Basically, turn that
more
off."
haram. Yeah. We have our Disney and our Star Wars shout outs. Mr. Wilson is reciting lyrics from Mulan. I recognized them right away when he was like, look in the mirror and see who's that person, right? Like, I was just like, is that a Disney thing? So definitely.
I didn't know that's what he was doing. Mulan.
Yeah, it was Mulan. It was straight. And even Kamala says it. She says, is that from you reciting from Mulan? And it's like, yeah, I am. But I forgot where, but someone, I think it was Kamala, like she said someone was like Darth Vader.
Yes.
Someone mentioned Darth Vader. There's always a Star Wars reference.
Bruno says your mom isn't Darth Vader.
Right, Bruno says that. So it's always a reference to Star Wars somewhere in like Disney-owned properties. Here we are again. There is a shout out to Halal Guys, which is very famous in New York. It's now a global franchise, but it's a halal cart that started in New York on 53rd and 6th. Where you can get things like the famous chicken rice. That shit bomb. It's just delicious, amazing.
Oh, so you disrespecting my man because he said it ain't bomb or delicious.
No, he didn't say that. He was just like, Halal Guys charges you extra for sauce. So
yeah, he like they frauds.
It's still good, but I will say they're not frauds. But I will say that you can get really good chicken rice generally anywhere in the city. There's like you don't got to go to Halal Guys. Like right now, it's like a tourist spot at this point. But yeah. I've had better, ain't gonna lie, but it is famous to New York and the area, especially, being in Jersey City.
Man, some of the best fried rice I ever had was this Indian cat living down in Jamaica in Mo Beach. Like,
really?
It was insane.
So good.
Like I'm going back to Montego Bay just for that man's fried rice.
That's how that shit
outrageous. Also, the Halal Guys mentioned, or not the Halal Guys, the dude running his truck mentioned something about flying guys in vulture suits buying up the neighborhood. You know who that's shouting out.
Vulture?
Yeah. Yep. Your boy Michael Keaton buying some property in Jersey before he got flipped over in Morbius.
He's doing his best Zillow impersonation. Buying up the block, selling it for more.
There we go. Vultures.
We do see in the credits, I saw this too, you see the Trust the Bro truck. We saw that in Hawkeye. We saw the Bros, the movie vans, and all of them. And just to even further solidify, these are all in the one connecting universe. And I don't know where in the timeline, if it's before Hawkeye, after Hawkeye, right around Hawkeye. Not right around. Right, Hawkeye was Christmas, and this is clearly like spring, summer, but spring, summer. My housewife people.
Well, they're like, spring, because they're definitely dressed for Jersey spring.
Yeah. And the graffiti, we talked about it earlier, they're discussing all the hero mashups, the Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel mashups. Really sick, amazing, just artwork, and just really cool to see the interpretations of what those mashups will look like.
Mm-hmm. And then another great one was the cosplay contest.
Yes.
When all the different Carol Danvers are out there. And I love this because when Bruno sees Zoe in her suit, He says that's not accurate.
That's not accurate, right?
But Zoe is actually
She
wearing
is the accurate.
the original
Yes.
Miss Marvel costume, and it's
Yes.
perfectly accurate.
Yes.
It's beautifully done.
I caught that shit, Benhameen. I was dying. I was like, actually, Bruno.
Oh, actually, Bruno. And then another great one was when Kamala is telling her plan to Bruno, and she's drawing it out on the board, and we see the animation. And then when they go into the plan in her mind, she's wearing what looks like either a CGI or
she's wearing
very
a perfect
well done,
version.
perfect of Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I was like, that looks better than what you got on, girl. Like your fit. Now let me not.
No, because her
not
fit
gonna
was
hold
fire.
you. Her fit was fire that she put
Fire.
together. Her and Bruno's together. That shit was fire. It was not the one that was in your dreams, though.
You are going to see so many of them in New York Comic Con. I already know it. Like her fake cosplay outfit,
The Kamala cosplay
with a Bruno beside her. I'm already calling it.
And
Bruno in the helmet and the jacket, the Bruce Banner outfit.
Hopefully with the photon gloves that she left in the bathroom.
Gotta do it. Do it. You know, because he's supposed to be Bruce Banner. That's what he said real quick.
Right. He was like, she was like, who you? Because he was like, look real lightweight with his shit.
Yeah. He just had the lab coat.
But Ben, is this also indicative he doesn't have much?
Broke.
So he's doing the best he can with what he got.
Bruno broke, bro. He doing a lot with what he got because this man is making all kind of inventions, and that's what I'm saying. He broke, and see that's the other thing. Kamala comes from
where he getting the money to make these inventions?
Scrapping it together, and Kamala comes from a bit of money too. Let's talk about that. Like her house in Jersey is not small. It is very nice.
It seems like the
full very
building.
big. Yeah, it's a full house.
If they own it, they could. Be
but it seems like they're not struggling. Like they taking care of the son, or maybe
they're living within their means. Like they're that car that she crashes is like seems like a real old like Ford Taurus or whatever the fuck it was. I don't know what. It's just like a real old Nissan or something like that.
Yeah, but that might have been the one they let her drive too as well.
Well, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
But no, they got a nice house. They're not ballers like Nakia, as we'll see more about. But they're not. Bruno, on the other hand, so when she leaves those gloves, that's a lot for him.
Facts.
That's not just. It ain't just
not just
emotionally.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, damn, shorty, I could have ate with that. I'm sick of these, Slurpees. You know what I mean? Like, man can't live on Twinkies alone.
Ben, if they reveal he has a wealthy benefactor at the end, I'm gonna be so bad at all this shit you're saying about how broke he is.
Oh, it ain't gonna happen. That man broke. The wealthy benefactor is going to be when he turns to a life of villainy and becomes his own benefactor because he broke right now.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, actually, one more thing. Two more things. I'm glad you said about you reminded me about when she goes through the plan about how she's going to sneak out her house and go to Avenger Con with Bruno. And again, when we talk about the brilliance of the animation and the way that it's carried out, like you see her plan in her mind go perfectly, right? You see the timestamps about when stuff's supposed to happen. Right away,
her family wearing her shirt
off break when she actually tries to enact the plan. She's late, and as the plan, I don't know you notice, so as the plan is going, the timestamps are getting crossed out and replaced with new times. It's like, you're 10 minutes late here, you're 5 minutes late here, and by the end, she was supposed to be home at like 9 or some shit, 9:20. She gets home at 11, 12 or some shit,
man.
And I was just like, yo, and I was like, her mom's gonna be sitting right the fuck there, and where was her mom?
Right the fuck there. Just like my mom would be sitting right the fuck there every time I came home late, sitting in the living room. As soon as I walked in that front door, oh my God. Like, I'd be coming in at like 3 a.m. My mom's still sitting up waiting every time.
And she felt betrayed too, like, damn.
Yeah, my mom wouldn't be mad. She knew I was out working, but she'd just be up waiting,
Well, that's different.
I was. Yeah.
If
I'd done something, she'd be up waiting too. Either way.
Now here's my thing. If Kamala was my daughter and I told her no, I actually fully expect her to make her way to the Comic Con. Like, I just feel like
you know your daughter,
I know my daughter, right?
Yourself,
but also it's just like I felt Ami, like I felt her mom, like she was just like, bro, like you betrayed my trust, and who are you? Like, who's this person who's like, she said, like, at the end of the day, Kamala is growing up, but to her mom, she feels like that's rebellion, and that's possibly a tie-in to her mom's past, like when her mom maybe went through a period of what was seen as rebellion, but it was really just her growing up and finding herself.
And it also might just be her mom might like have seen her grandma, her oma, do a lot of stuff where she just like, oh no, and so it's like she's seeing what her, the same things that her mom would do while she never got to live that life because she completely was like, nope. And then her daughter comes out wanting to be like her mom, and she's like, I never got to live that, and now, so
right.
It's that anger.
Right. All right, finally, there is an after credit scene. Did you see that, Ben?
Oh, of course.
Of course you did.
Damage control in the house.
If y'all know anything about Marvel, anything, just watch through all the credits. It's actually a very great way to get you to. You should be watching anyway. The people who are involved in projects like this. It's hundreds of people, but also to get you to the after credit scene or mid credit scene. We see. Is this the Damage Control crew? I thought it was.
This is Damage Control crew from Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Okay, because were these the same people?
Yes, the exact same guy who interviews. I got Men in the Chair. He interviews Ned, Peter, Aunt May, and MJ. This is the exact same character.
Okay, so we see them and as we saw at the Avenger Con when Kamala goes through her situation where she gets the powers and she's blinded by the lights, hence the title song. She's blinded by the lights, and it just kind of activates. Someone is recording that, and that recording finds its way to the Damage Control people. They're like, "Hey, yo, what the fuck? Bring her in."
Yep. These are the same people. Yeah, it's the same dude from Spider-Man: No Way Home. It's that same actor. I love that actor. I've seen him in something else before, both of those, and so I always liked him. So I remember his face immediately. A few more real quick little Easter eggs at Avengers Con. There's
so many.
So many. But the ones that I love, because there's so much merch that could potentially come from the show.
Yes.
One is the I Love Kamala shirts that her family is wearing when she's daydreaming about them all being on her side. They're all wearing shirts that say I Love Kamala, which I would love to have. There's the America's Ass, thank you. And it's Captain America with a big old ass. Yeah, and it's like, thank you, for America's ass for saving us. There's the Things Hulk smashed. And where you can hit the weight. It's just and on.
There's that sweet memorial. I don't know if you saw the memorial where it shows
with Black
Iron
Widow.
Man and Black Widow. And it was like, thank you for your sacrifice.
And that was great because we finally see the public acknowledging Black Widow. Like, we haven't seen that. Because it was always talked about how Black Widow is the spy who people didn't know, which was BS because Black Widow went before the Senate in Iron Man 2 or the Avengers and taught everyone knows who she is. So... that was some nonsense. And so it's great to see the public, or we see the public's reaction to Black Widow. That was so dope. And then I loved the cosplayer dressed as T'Chaka posing it up with all of the ladies dressed as Captain America. Because you get to see this black man in his Black Panther with the
white
robe,
woman?
with the white women's, with the symbol of white women, the white. He did have one black Captain America woman down on the end. He had one black Captain America down on the end. And them ladies was beautiful. So, hey, look, I ain't mad at you.
We just playing, y'all. It's all jokes and games here.
Look, my man had a game, unlike Bruno. You know what I mean?
Ben, this was a jam-packed episode 1 review. Did we get everything we need to talk about?
I think we did. Like I say, we probably missed some Easter eggs here and there because there's a million. But, we're not here for that as much as we are for bringing you these themes, bringing you what we feel and all that. And I loved it.
Yes.
And I've already seen episode 2. I know you haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
It's fantastic as well.
I'm ready.
They're not letting up. I'm so hyped for episode 3 now. I need it in my veins.
I'm ready. I love episode 1. I love where this series is going. I love the cast. I love the writing. I love the authenticity and inclusion of everything I'm seeing here. So I'm giving it a big thumbs up. Be sure to be watching this, y'all. This is the one you gotta watch. If you watch no other Disney Plus shows, and I don't understand how, but if you watch no other, please watch this.
Yeah, I say that too.
Peace. That said, thank y'all so much for listening to Views from the 616, powered by For All Nerds. Make sure you're following For All Nerds on your favorite podcast platform in order to listen to us as we talk about everything in MCU. Make sure you are also following and subscribe to us on the twitch.tv/forallnerds. You can also support us in many different ways, primarily through our Patreon, patreon.com/forallnerds, where every tier is a special tier and you get special privileges. Also, hit us up on the TeePublic. That's our merch page. tpublic.com/stores/forallnerds, where you can get this beautiful For All Nerds branded tee. Or Benhameen's tee. I think you're wearing Storm on a Motorbike. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. As well as the For All Nerds mug and a multitude of other beautiful designs. Our inclusion is Revolution Designs, which has like 4 or 5 variants. Our Wong was right. He is always right. Wong, the Sorcerer Supreme. Tee. Honestly, you can get these designs on everything. Shirts, mugs, pillows, totes, books. phone covers, masks. Hope some of y'all are still wearing your masks. I really hope everybody is, but I know y'all not. That's fine. I'm still wearing mine. Make sure you hit that up again, tpublic.com/stores with an S with /4allnerds. And overall, just make sure you follow us on the interwebs at 4allnerds, at views from 616 on Twitter. Also follow me. I'm at Tatiana King. He's at DJ Benhameen.
Also, make sure you're following us on twitch.tv/4allnerds, where we broadcast our reviews live or semi-live. You can see us. You can join the greatest chat in the multiverse. We're also been playing some games over there, some DJing, all that. So come through twitch.tv/4allnerds. And man, I cannot believe we are already back with another MCU series.
Marvel back at it again. See you next time.